because it's more exciting or there's more drama in it. Every tragedy is a tragedy. Every tragedy affects real people, and it's very personal. The Navi describes the Jewish people suffering endlessly as shikuras v'loy miyoyin, drunk but not with wine. Their senses, our senses, are dulled not through alcohol but through our endless suffering. Perhaps we have become shikuras v'loy miyoyin. We've become so inundated with a continuous supply of information through all the modern hyper-quick media that we're drunk. We no longer realize what we're doing to ourselves, and we've stopped becoming participants in reality, and we've become spectators. The worst part of our becoming spectators is that eventually we're so drunk that we don't even appreciate our own real-life situations the way we should. Everything's entertainment, a song, a joke, a story. When David HaMelech said, in all earnestness, Zemirais hayu li chukecha, your statutes, your Torah has become a song for me. The Gemara in Sanhedrin says that the Torah came girded in sackcloth before HaKadosh Baruch Hu, and he said, Banecha asauni zemirais, your children have made me into a song. Now, while we can't get into the meaning of that original statement and what the Gemara means, but the complaint is obvious. The complaint is, the Torah is a real thing. It's a serious thing. We don't make it into a song. That's what the complaint is. We have to make sure that we appreciate the real things and that we appreciate reality properly. Take it seriously. Rav Shalom Shvadron described, he used the Gemara to describe the way some people approach things like Torah. I suppose you could say the same thing with davening. The Gemara says, Kahadot Tayar. Rav Shalom Shvadron says, like a tayar. A tayar is a tourist. What does a tourist do? He travels around the world. He goes to see everything, spends a lot of money, and he comes back at the end, and what does he have? What does he have to show for it? A picture album and a suntan. That's not the way we should approach things like the Torah, things like reality. We should approach them with a feeling of, I need to get something out of this. I need to make sure I get the full potential of what I'm supposed to get from this. I need to make sure I fully understand it and I live it in reality and in the real world. There was a person I know, preface this, that this is, there's something worse than a spectator. And that's just a person who looks at a story as a reporter or as a journalist. And we do that ourselves as well. There's a person I know in London who found out that there was a Jewish girl who had become fanatically involved in a political group, who had announced that she was going to set herself on fire in front of the UN mission in Geneva, the UN offices. So he raced, he went from London as quickly as he could, and he got there, and when he got there, she had just set herself on fire. All around her were newspaper reporters with cameras and notebooks, just taking pictures and writing the story. And he started screaming, "Save her! Save her! Why don't you save her?" They were looking at it detached. They were not even looking at it as spectators. They were looking at it as a story. And unfortunately, sometimes that's the way we become. We hear the news and we report it to the next person. And then we've lost touch with it. We're not being affected by it anymore. If we let this story pass without meditating on how we should be affected, we've missed a lesson. Maybe we can turn this horrible event into something personally inspiring. I would suggest a few things. So make something positive out of this. It's by no means a positive thing that happened. But maybe make something positive out of it. Firstly, when we learn of a story like this or any other story, to wait before telling anyone about it. wait a little bit, wait a while. There's a reason why the Gemara says, the Gemara condemns people who are the bearers of bad tidings. It removes the effect from the person telling it. He's heard the bad news, it affects him, and then he tells it to somebody else. It removes the effect. Before he shares it, it's all his own. As soon as he shares it with someone else, he's lost a little bit of the effect. He's shared it with someone else. When it's his own, he can focus on the depth of the sadness. By spreading it around, he dilutes it. And it feeds the urge to be the newsmonger. Everybody wants to be the newsmonger, and that's the wrong reaction to a sad event. We're not supposed to try to be newsmongers. So just wait a little bit. If you're going to tell it to someone else, you feel someone else needs to know, wait. Wait a few minutes, think about it, see what the story does to you before you go and tell someone else. Second, let's utilize the moments after hearing such news to spend a few moments in Musar study, in introspection. Perhaps we might have a favorite Musar sefer or a small passage that we can use to slow ourselves down and to reconnect with reality and with ourselves. And third, perhaps this is a wake-up call about the falsehood of the world that we live in, the Olam HaSheker, the world that we live in, where the term reality show doesn't make us wonder, what does that mean? Is it reality or is it a show? This is a world of falsehoods. This is a world where things are clouded with all sorts of junk and cluttered with all sorts of wrong ideas and things that are totally don't make any sense when you start thinking about them. And this is a chance maybe for us to realize how we've been maybe caught up in that, and to stop and reset ourselves back to thinking about the world of truth, the world of the Torah. Even the Churban, even the destruction of the Beis HaMikdash can become a movie. It can become a story that we try to picture as though it's a movie. And that takes away from the gravity and the seriousness of what took place. A movie tends to put a whole story into a 1 hour long or 2 hour long bunch of pictures. That's really all it is. It's a whole lot of pictures. The Churban was something very, very real. And it's still happening. The Beis HaMikdash is still destroyed. It's still going on. And we're living through it. We're actually living through this reality of a Churban. But we tend to sort of detach ourselves. We tend to sort of think of stories and pictures. It's important. The stories are important as well, but it's important for us to understand the distinctions between reality and pictures, stories, entertainment. Perhaps this is an opportunity right before Tisha B'Av to sort of detach ourselves from the entertainment aspect of what these stories are, and to, rather than be spectators or reporters or journalists, to become the actual participants and the actors in the stage of, we call it the stage in real life. And may we never need to be taught lessons like this ever again.